Let's go into virtualbox.org. That's the first step when we start Docker machine on the Mac. Download the latest VirtualBox for your operating system. Once it's downloaded, let's open it. Double click on it so that it can install. Now that we have the VirtualBox installed, I just opened Visual Studio Code, navigated to use case number 8, and we're looking at scripts.txt right now. This particular section, which starts with Docker machine unto Docker machine remove, is all that you need to have to learn and understand Docker machine. So let's go to the terminals. I'm just going to keep this on the side. So what I'm going to do right now is I have two terminals sitting side by side, and we're going to create two virtual machines. So I'm just going to copy this command, which is here, paste it here, and then paste the same thing here, but change this VM1 to VM2. So essentially what we are doing is we are saying we want to be able to create a virtual machine with VirtualBox as the driver, and the disk size to be used for this virtual machine is around 20 gigs. All right. So the same with this one. Apparently, I think it's 2 gigs. So we're going to create two virtual machines, 2 gigs each, one called Hyper-V VM1 and the other one called Hyper-V VM2. So let's see what happens. I'm just going to click on this one here and this one here. Now what we see here on the screen is the virtual machines have been created. As you can see, it says creating machine. It was able to create a virtual machine, create an SSH key, started the virtual machine, and it's waiting for an IP. And once you see Docker is up and running, what is happening right now is there was a virtual machine created, Docker engine was installed on this machine, and Docker is running on that virtual machine. Now that said, we're going to see how we can use the virtual machines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this particular terminal now that we've built both, and we're going to go back to Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to enlarge this particular window here just to make sure that it's easy for you to understand what I'm doing, and I'm going to have this particular section also close by so that we can compare things parallelly, or maybe I'll minimize it. So what's going on here is let's do docker-machine ls. This command is going to give you all the Hyper-V or virtual machines running on the PC. I just named this Hyper-V to keep it consistent with Windows. This can be named anything. So whatever name you give here, make sure that you can customize it or give a name of your choice. So as you can see on this section, this basically talks a lot about the attributes or the metadata of the virtual machine. It talks about the driver which was used to install it. It talks about what is active and what is not. It gives you the state of the virtual machine, the IP addresses assigned to the virtual machine, and the Docker engine running on those virtual machines. Okay, so if you want to try out or just getting the IP of a particular virtual machine, just do Docker machine IP Hyper-V-VM-1 or Hyper-V-VM-2. So each of these have their own IP addresses. So this is something for you to note. So if you go back to Visual Studio Code, I've just covered this particular section here, and also trying to enlist all the Docker machines. Now you can also stop and start the Hyper-V or the virtual machines using these commands. It basically says stop and then start in case you want to stop and start the virtual machines. So now let's see how we can use these virtual machines. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this command. If you can see, this is similar to the command which is there on here. This says Docker machine env Hyper-V VM1. And if I copy this command, all I'm going to say is to the Docker engine is I want to be able to use this virtual machine. So once you execute this particular command, you're going to get some of the metadata information of the virtual machine, and also it says run this command to configure your shell. So just copy this, paste it, and run it. So now you can do Docker images. There are no images here. Let me clear the screen. And then what I'm going to do is just to get you up to speed with the Docker machine, I'm just going to say docker run -itd-p 5555:80 and nginx :latest. So it's going to download the version of nginx which is there in Docker Hub. I can also give it a name called my nginx on Hyper-V VM1. And then what it's going to do is it's going to download nginx from the repository. As you can see, nginx got downloaded, and we're going to try to hit the server. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to say docker-machine ls, and then I'm just going to get the IP address. As you can see, this is active right now, and this got active when we ran the eval command. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the browser and paste this one right here, and as you can see, nginx got loaded correctly. So nginx is running inside this virtual machine, which is Hyper-V VM1. If I go into 100, it's not going to work because nginx was installed in the other VM. So what I'm going to do as an experiment is, let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Let's copy this command to make this active. So this is called the env command. Executing this is going to give you a command which you need to run to log into that virtual machine. So just copy this, paste it, and then run it. And then if you see, there are no images here because the nginx which we installed was on the previous virtual machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and then install my nginx Hyper-V VM2. And if you see, it's going to start downloading it again. As you can see, the nginx instance was installed, and we're just going to do docker images, and this is specific to VM2. So if I go back or just do docker machine IP Hyper-V VM2, you're going to see the IP address. I'm just going to change it here. Well, it's actually here. Click on it, and then despite changing the address, nginx is running on both the containers. So this is just a sneak peek of creating virtual machines on the Mac using VirtualBox and Docker Machine. I hope you enjoyed the course. I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture. You can skip the lectures which actually say Windows only and then go on to the Mac one. Thank you for watching.